Congratulations on your new baby, or perhaps you're expecting. Maybe you're watching this video because there's someone important to you in your life that's expecting a newborn or has a newborn, and you're wondering, what can I do to support this person? Very few people give the right level of intention to being a parent. Very few people research how do I become a good mother? How do I do what's right for my baby? And so if you're watching this video because you desire to do something different, kudos to you. You're already way ahead of the curve. So my background is in child development, and I spent some time as a child life specialist at a children's hospital where I cross-covered the NICU. So I didn't spend all of my time in the NICU, but I did have the honor of learning side by side with someone who I consider the baby whisperer. She knows some really incredible things about young babies, and I became fascinated about how babies develop and how to care for them, and further dove into some research when I became a family therapist, a family and child therapist, and I found some similarities between my clients, given that a lot of them had some struggle or some trauma early on in their life. In the first few months of life, there was something that happened that caused some issues later on in life, and I began to explore this more, the value of prenatal care and the value of attachment parenting in the first few months of life to decrease some of the negative effects and development that I was seeing later in life with my adolescent clients. And the more that I dove into prenatal care and the fourth trimester, which is those first 3 months of an infant's life where they are still essentially a fetus, I learned the value of attachment parenting and a few other things that we can do that we need more of here in America. If you're watching this video in America, if you're watching it around the world, some of these things may be second nature to you and you don't really know anything different. But America tends to be a little bit behind on empathy-based practices, meaning things that don't necessarily have an end result that we can see right away, but are more just about social emotional development rather than physical development. So I'm going to speak a little bit on attachment parenting and give you my top suggestions for some things that more mothers need to be implementing. And if you didn't do these things with your young baby, there's no reason to feel bad about it. You did the best that you could with what you knew at the time. So pat yourself on the back. What babies really need more than anything is love and touch. So if you loved your baby, if you held your baby, and if you made eye contact and smile at your baby, again, you're way ahead of the curve. So there's no judgment here on anything that you choose to do or choose not to do. I'm simply stating facts and giving you information on what I know has been proven to be best for infants. So one of the number one things that I can encourage you to do is to breastfeed your baby. I used to hashtag on my Instagram whenever I posted something about breastfeeding or a bottle, I would do the hashtag breast is best. And I had a friend comment, you should really be hashtagging fed is best. And I said, no, that's not, I don't believe in that. I don't believe that fed is best. I know there are a lot of babies out there who are not able to be breastfed. A lot of mothers choose not to breastfeed. One of my best friends said, are you still going to love me if I formula feed my baby? And I'm like, 100%. Like, I don't have any judgment on what anybody else does, but fed is best is not the truth. Breast milk has been proven to be what is best for babies, and there's no comparison. There are healthier store-bought formulas. You can get Holly, for example, or you can make your own formula if you need to supplement or if you need to provide that for your baby because you're not able to breastfeed for whatever reason. But I would really strongly encourage you to give it your best shot. Don't be discouraged when nothing's coming out. I have all the knowledge in the world when it comes to babies and infant development and even breastfeeding. I grew up with a lactation consultant as practically my second mother, and I found myself calling her constantly going, am I doing this right? Because what should be natural, it wasn't really all that natural, and it was very disconcerting for me as a new mother to have 2 babies to feed, and what was coming out looked like a teaspoon of honey. And then, you go back to the basics and go, oh yeah, that's colostrum, that's liquid gold. There's more nutrients in this teeny tiny little amount of fluid than anything else I can ever provide for my baby. And I decided to set small goals for myself as a breastfeeding mother. I said, if I can get the colostrum into their mouths as a twin mom, then I've succeeded. And then I thought, okay, if I can breastfeed while we're in the hospital, then I've succeeded. Okay, if I can make it 1 month. And then I slowly extended the bar, and I nursed for 3 years. Both of my twins were nursed for over 3 years, and I thought, woo, this is a good feat. They did have some other foods. I did introduce solids fairly early, but breast milk is not only the best source of nutrition and antibodies that your baby needs to not only survive, but to thrive in those first few months of life. But also it's the bonding, it's the pheromones, it's the skin to skin contact that not only is good for you as a new mother to decrease postpartum depression would be the goal, but also to help your baby feel love and connected and seen and held and touched. And babies thrive on attachment. So if you can breastfeed your baby, I strongly encourage you to reach out to a lactation consultant, get everybody's card and number that's going to swing by your room at the birth center or the hospital, or even in at home. If you delivered at home, perhaps ask your doula or midwife or a lactation consultant to speak with, to find out how can I breastfeed as long as possible, and don't feel that you need to stop at about a year. That is the recommended minimum goal, is to breastfeed for a year. But all around the world, people are breastfeeding their babies all the way through toddlerhood, at nap time, meal times, or for comfort. And there's no shame in that. I was very proud to breastfeed my toddlers, and I didn't see anything wrong with that. And they were never sick. They did really well. So breastfeeding would be number one. Number two, wear your baby. Wear your baby. I cringe when I see babies in carriers, and I know that mothers are just doing what they need to do to get by, right? It's easy. It snaps out of the car seat. You put it in the shopping carrier and you kind of go about your day. That's easy, right? I would really strongly encourage you to look at some carriers that you can wear the baby on your body. I loved the Mia Millie baby carrier when my babies were bigger. But when they were newborns, I used the Happy Baby wrap. I also used an ACK wrap, which I don't think is still in manufacturing and production, because I actually know the founder of the ACK wrap. But anything where you can tie your baby to your body and wear them close to you is so good. It's good for brain development. It's good for vocabulary development. And as they wiggle and squirm up against you, they're building their trunk control and their head control as well. They usually have hands over heart, hands at midline, which builds the, excuse me, I have allergies, builds the corpus callosum, which is that line right down the center of the brain that connects the right and left hemisphere when we have hands at midline. So definitely wear your baby. You may be thinking, how does that help brain development and vocabulary? But baby is worn close to you, and it helps their physiological systems in line with yours, but they're also hearing your voice, your tone, your language, your volume, and even your speed of speech. And that's formulating that part of the brain for vocabulary and speech. What we're doing is exciting those neurons, firing and rewiring the neurons to bridge the gaps and ready the baby's brain for language. You can also sing to your baby, and then they're right there next to you. So they don't really need anything. There's this common misconception that you can spoil a baby by holding them too frequently. But what I have found as a mother, but also working with hundreds of babies over the years, that when you wear a baby or when you attend to the baby's needs right away, they're less needy, meaning that they don't cry, which is what babies do to get attention. So when their needs are being met consistently and constantly, they don't really need much from you. But I would challenge you to think, even though I'm saying wear the baby as often as possible, it doesn't always have to be you. So when I use the term mom, sometimes what I'm referring to is a primary caregiver. So mom should be interchangeable with mom, dad, aunt, best friend, which in my case, my best friend drove all the way from Fort Worth, held the babies for a couple of days, let me sleep. I think I slept the entire time. I actually don't even remember her like really being there. But she was a mom in that instance, and then grandparent or neighbor, right? So when I say mom, I don't mean just you. All over the world, there's a village that helps to take care of that baby. So we need to be mothering the mother. So, when I say mom, just remember it doesn't have to be just mom, okay? That word should be interchangeable with other primary, loving, safe caregivers that are in your life and your baby's life. So we've got breastfeeding, baby wearing. Number 3, if you can, allow your baby to sleep close to you. Not necessarily in the same bed with you, although that's what I did, and I'm gonna explain to you how to be safe with that, but perhaps keeping the baby in a crib or a bassinet or even a Moses basket in the room with you. They can feel your energy. They can smell you. They know that you're nearby. You're also really close to the baby for feeding. You can simply pick them up, pull them to the breast. There's no need to wander around the house. There's no need to turn on any lights, but you're right there to feed your baby and be with your baby in the middle of the night or consistently. What I did is I used a snuggle nest, which is a mesh basket. It folds up, which was great for nap times, but then it unfolds and you can just lay the baby in it. And I had my babies head to head, kind of toe to toe throughout the middle of the bed. And then my mother slept on the other side because I was a single mom very early on. So my mom slept on the other side and then the babies were right down the middle and then I slept. But we don't cover them up with blankets and we certainly don't let them roll around a soft mattress because that can be a suffocation risk. But they were safely in their little bassinets right there in bed, and it made things so much easier once I started doing that. So there is value in co-sleeping, and that's co-sleeping. So some people, when they think co-sleeping, they think, I don't want to bring the baby in the bed with me. That's not safe. But co-sleeping can also just be in the same room. So breastfeeding, baby wearing, and co-sleeping are probably my top suggestions for you. The other is to decrease stimulation. I remember one time I got a phone call to a mother who had 2 4-month-old twins, and she was just freaking out. So they have not stopped crying for months. They are anxious, they're screaming, they're colicky, I don't really even know what it is. And I said, okay, well, let me come into the home and I'm gonna see what I can do. And upon walking into the home, I thought, well, this is what's going on. The TV was on. There might have been a radio playing. All of the lights in the house were on. I mean, all of the lights in the house were on. The husband had just cooked something with some very smelly kind of spices, which, Rudolf Steiner is a philosopher and a scientist that I follow a lot of his work. And he talks about avoiding things that are offensive to the senses. And this was definitely an offensive smell. And Dad is also smacking as he ate, and it was just so overwhelming. And a newborn, all of their senses are open. They're really taking everything in. Have you ever walked into an empty room and you feel, or like an empty room that feels full and the only thing in there is a baby? Their energy is so big and their senses are so wide open. They're taking everything in. So all of those, stimulations were on, and the babies were just like, wow. They were doing that infant stop signal that babies do, which is kind of like this. And so I said, could we turn the TV off and the music off, and let's go ahead and let some natural light in. Let's turn down some of these lights, maybe light some candles. Husband, do you mind walking into the other room to finish your food? And then let's go ahead and do the dishes and kind of get rid of that smell. The babies went to sleep like that, and they slept for the first time. I'm not a miracle worker. I simply decrease stimulation. And that's what those babies needed in that moment. And I think that that's the lifestyle that they started to live was take it down a notch, because in the first few months of life, we want to mimic the womb. And the womb was warm, it was quiet, it was dark, it was simple, and really allow the baby to rest as much as possible and slowly transition from the womb to the world. And that brings me to my last suggestion to you as a new parent is to swaddle. I believe in the Wombi. In fact, I'm the co-creator of Wombi Med Pods, which is the medical version of the Wombi. But the Wombi is a peanut-shaped swaddle that simply zips the baby up. It keeps all of the limbs in, hands over heart. Remember, we're building that corpus callosum. It allows the baby to wiggle and squirm within the confines of the pod. They can't get their hands out. There's no loose parts, so there's no risk for suffocation. They are swaddled nice and neat and contained, and they have the boundaries that they really thrive on, similar to being in the womb. I do have families sometimes say, that kind of looks like a straitjacket. Are you sure they're comfortable? And I'm like, you would have thought your uterus was too small if you saw your baby wrapped up in that. But when they come out into the world, they find, they're kind of splayed open, and they arch their back and they put their hands up as if stop, there's too much stimulation. But if you put them in a Wombi and you zip them up, they're swaddled, they're contained, they feel held, and they can kind of wiggle and squirm and get into a nice, safe, warm spot and rest and feel safe and feel loved. So those are my suggestions for you as a new parent. Try to implement as much as you can, but also do your best, forget the rest, and be sure to ask for help when you need help. It's okay to say, I'm losing it. I feel like murdering my children in their sleep, which is totally normal. I didn't do it, but I definitely felt it at times. And if you've ever felt that, you're completely normal. Just don't do it. Don't act on it. Go ahead and call somebody for help. Let somebody know, I got to catch up on my sleep. I need some routine. I need to go for a walk. I need to read a book. I need time to just sit and meditate and have a thought have a complete thought to myself without interference or interruption, and just spend some time in meditation, journaling, or prayer. Engage in 10 minutes of yoga if you can. Be sure to take a shower, do your makeup, put on real clothes, go for a walk, start finding your routine, and really just try to treasure and enjoy your baby those first few months of life. I have a few more episodes regarding breastfeeding and newborn care, but I also have a lot on my podcast, Whole Heart Crunchy Parenting. Please go to wholeheartcrunchyparenting.com and subscribe. Share this video, like and comment. Let me know what else I can provide for you. But I would really encourage you to go to wholeheartcrunchyparenting.com and subscribe to Join Whole Heart so that I can continue to create content for you. Thank you again for listening. Be well.